a single triad and how to voice that triad properly. Okay? That's the first step. Before we move from one to another, the first thing is to talk about just a single triad and how we voice it. So when we've got 3 notes in a triad and 4 voices, we have to double one of those voices, right? And so in a root position triad, the root is almost always doubled, okay? Or I'm going to say usually, but that's not even strong enough. It's 99% of the time the root is the doubled note, okay, in a root position triad. So if I have a C major triad, like this, I've got 2 roots, a third and a fifth. Or if I voice it like this, I've got my 2 roots here, and then a third and a fifth. Okay, or like this, here's my 2 roots here, and a third and a fifth. Okay? So always with a triad in root position, you're going to double the root. Right? Okay. Now the other thing is what's called open and closed position. Does that sound familiar? Okay. Remember, it's called closed position if there's an octave or less between the tenor and the soprano voices. So it has to do with the spacing. Between the bass voice and the upper voices, you can have almost any interval. You can really stretch it out if you want to. You could even have something like this, where you've got this, the tenor's way up on a G and have this kind of a voicing. So you can have as much space as you want down here, but between the upper voices, you can't have more than an octave. So in other words, you can't have a voicing like this, okay? Because you've got more than an octave space between the tenor and the alto voices. You always have to have an octave or less between any of the 2 adjacent upper voices. So tenor alto, alto soprano, octave or less. Okay. That's absolute. Then it's called closed structure if you've got less than an octave between tenor and soprano. So the middle tenor voice and the soprano octave voice. It's called open structure if you have more than an octave between tenor and soprano. Okay, so there's 2 different things we're talking about there. One is spacing in general. And in general, you cannot have more than an octave between either tenor and alto or alto and soprano. And then the other issue is there's closed and open spacing. Now, closed and open spacing, I wouldn't worry about it too much because it's just a matter of which sounds good or what sounds appropriate for that particular time. So if I play that the first chord I have written there, that has a certain sound to it, a certain way of voicing a C major triad. If I play the second or the third one, which is the open voicing, has a different sound to it. It's still a C major triad and it's still voiced in double the correct way, but this one sounds more open, this one sounds more closed. So that's why you have open and closed voicing, but both of them are acceptable. But the fourth voicing, the fifth voicing, the last one, which is the wrong one, if I play that one, you hear the bass and tenor are down low and really kind of, and the soprano and alto are way up here. It sounds kind of awkward. There's so much space between these 2 inner voices. Now, it's not that you will never, ever see that in a composition or piece of classical music. It might be the composer has a certain reason for ignoring the spacing rules in the inner voices. Maybe they've got an alto line that's going up and a tenor line that's going down. They just want to get to those extremes of the voices. Or the same could be true of the altos and sopranos. Let's say sopranos are going up and altos are going down, and they want to get some really wide space up there between the female voices because they want a certain effect. So it's not that you will never see that, but for writing and harmony classes, that's what you want to avoid. Okay, you want to avoid more than an octave space between tenor and alto or between alto and Everybody okay with that? Okay. Then now let's go on to first inversion.